okay, parents, your kids are going to turn out just fine.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by FOCO. That's FOCO, F-O-C-O. If you are a parent of a child or teen with ADHD, you know how challenging it can be to keep them focused and engaged. FOCO is the all-natural solution for ADHD, whether it's for school, homework, or just everyday activities. FOCO helps your child or teen stay calm and attentive. Before trying prescription drugs like Adderall that can come with harsh side effects, I recommend you try FOCO. Visit ThinkFOCO, that's ThinkFoco, thinkfoco.com for more information. Welcome to the Your Kids Will Be Fine podcast. As always, I am Dr. Michael Milobsky, board-certified pediatrician, parent of 7, grandparent of 3. And as always, on the podcast, we are here to help parents sort through the overload of information, help parents feel more confident and comfortable with their parenting decisions, decrease parenting anxiety, and help people know that your kids will be fine. So this week on the podcast, we had a very popular video series on the Instagram and the TikTok account, where I was talking about 2 lists, total of 10 things that I don't let my children do or my grandchildren do because I'm a pediatrician and a father of 7. So I think the podcast is a great way to flesh out that list, maybe add a little bit more nuance, a little bit more color, a little bit more body to the list than we can on the short form platforms. So let's start with the first list, the first top 5. I started with e-bikes and scooters. That really comes from my personal observation in the office, as well as the pediatric ER, as well as the well-publicized data that adolescents, especially older adolescents, and the increasingly powerful and accessible e-bikes and e-scooters are a very dangerous mix. We are seeing a huge increase in not minor injuries, traumatic brain injuries, severe orthopedic injuries. And so why is that? What's different about these machines? Why is this a bigger problem? Well, the first off is that they're treated like toys but yet they are becoming increasingly powered like regular vehicles or motorcycles with high speeds, and kids who probably aren't prepared to be using them at the level that they're riding and interfacing with traffic. And let's be honest, adolescents and their frontal lobe development known to be a little bit behind and not fully there, making bad high-risk decisions on machines that are very unforgiving. So e-bikes and e-scooters, especially in the hands of older teenagers, is an increasingly bad idea. Hey, and let's just say maybe kids could just ride regular bikes and scooters and get a little more exercise and significantly decrease the risk of injury compared to what we're seeing. So e-bikes and e-scooters are problematic. Definitely think twice before you simply pick one up for your teenager. Number 2 on the first list, kids. I do not let my kids or my grandchildren be unsupervised around water. I still see a lot of parents when we talk about this topic in the office, or when I see, unfortunately, a severe issue around a near drowning in the pediatric. Parents continue to be under the impression that I will hear something, that somehow my ears will tell me that my child is in distress in the water, that will give me time to respond. And I'm here to tell you that that is not true and that it is a totally silent experience. In our parenting journey, when we first moved to Denver, Colorado, we lived in an apartment complex that had a huge pond in the middle. We were supervising our toddlers, at least we thought we were, by sitting on our porch and watching them by the pond and talking. And I made the same mistake. For sure, I'll hear something. I'll hear a splash. So it wasn't fully focused. We were involved in a conversation. And when I look up, my 2-year-old is floating face down in the pond. We erupted, brought him out, got him breathing. The water was cold, so he hadn't quite sunk. And we averted what could have been a tragedy. Heard nothing. Drowning in a young child is a completely silent event. Adults need to be fully focused on young children around the water, preferably even within an arm's reach, and not assume that other people are going to watch your child. The best prevention for drowning is supervision. I am a huge advocate for swim lessons as early as possible, having your kids be comfortable and safe in the water, at least to be able to keep themselves from sinking, and is a huge benefit, but it's not a replacement for supervision. The third on this list, this came out of the big popularity of my choking video, where I did talk about how I did save my own child's life once, where she was walking and eating a pizza crust, choked, became silent, airway completely obstructed, and using the standard techniques of back blows and abdominal thrusts, dislodged it, saved her life. Walking and eating is the number one way that kids end up choking and needing a life-saving intervention. By the way, all parents, if you have a child, should know how to handle choking. If it comes up in your house, you're the only person that's going to be able to save your child. You will, if you rely on emergency services, permanent brain damage or death will set in before EMS can arrive. Every parent needs to be comfortable with the process of handling a choking infant and or toddler or preschooler. The videos are easily understandable and easily digested on YouTube, or take an American Heart Association CPR course, but have that in your toolbox, every single parent. It will save your child's life. But also, do not let your child walk and eat is probably the best way to prevent having to need this skill set at home. Number 4, this is an impassioned plea from someone who's been a pediatrician for a long time and directly related to the rise of rapid commercial urgent care that is marketing themselves to families with young children. Please do not let your child take antibiotics for a viral illness. Get your child properly seen and diagnosed by a pediatric provider, and don't ask for antibiotics or insist on taking them when you've been told and you've been seen and that your child's symptoms are viral. Unnecessary antibiotics, although it seems harmless and like a victimless crime, as it were, have negative issues, negative consequences. The first is resistance. So the more that people do this, the harder it is to treat infections when they're serious and they come up. Although that's a very hard thing when you're a busy parent and your child has been sick and you want your child seen and you need your child back in daycare. Most of us as parents, admittedly, are not thinking about global staphylococcal resistance. I get it. I understand. 2, it is not uncommon for children to have a severe reaction to the antibiotics that you may not have had before, which can make your child feel worse and then make your child sicker than the viral illness that you are erroneously treating with those antibiotics. And third, antibiotics have negative consequences on your child's gut health. We're recognizing this more. Eradicating healthy bacteria, all that has consequences for your child's gut-brain axis with repeated use, including metabolic consequences, how your gut and brain and your microbiome, the health of those things do have impact on lots of other areas. So don't use them if it's not necessary. So no antibiotics for viral illnesses. And number 5 on the first list is I have become increasingly critical of unnecessary homework. I think that kids coming home and drowning in homework is detrimental to their mental health at a time when kids need to be able to exercise, to connect with their family, to focus on healthy eating, to getting healthy sleep and getting to bed at a normal time. So we have started to take a stand in my house. And admittedly, we don't emphasize grades in my home. It's just a choice we've made that we emphasize other things. And along with that, we will empower our children and even communicate with the schools as needed that some of these things are not going to get done because we're focusing on other things that support our child's mental health and mental well-being, specifically connecting with their family, getting enough exercise, getting healthy sleep. So I don't let my kids drown in homework at the expense of those things. Now let's move on to the second list of 5 of the things that I don't let my children do because I'm a pediatrician and father of 7. This one on the list got a lot of attention because America loves football, but the data is clear about the negative impacts on early initiation of tackle football and why that is and why that's different from other contact sports. The same does not apply to the other commonly played contact sports. We do not have this problem with rugby, ice hockey, lacrosse, martial arts, wrestling, it simply is tackle football is a completely different animal when it comes to long-term cumulative neurologic damage at a critical area time of development. So tackle football, if your child really wants to play, delaying initiation of tackle football till age 12 is the best practice. That data has been supported. And what is it about tackle football that's uniquely bad for kids' brains? It's because of the cumulative, non-concussive impact that those repeated multiple blows to your child's brain, even if they're not high enough to necessarily cause symptoms or concussion, definitely have a cumulative effect. We see it all the time in players who, unfortunately, football players who end their careers and develop neuropsychiatric issues at an inappropriately young age, and they've been diagnosed with CTE. Well, it does seem that this process can start at the initiation of contact football in young children. And it is not the same in almost any other contact sport. This cumulative, repetitive, non-concussive head trauma, as it is unique to football. So that's why we singled out football. Part number 2 on this list, sitting in the front seat before age 13. Airbags are a significant cause of traumatic brain injury and severe injury and even death statistically in kids under 13. And so sitting in the front seat puts you directly in that line of fire. And this has been reproduced and looked at over many, many years. And it's not worth it. It's not worth having your kid sit in the front seat before age 13, given what can happen just from the airbag deploying, even if it's a mild fender bender, which can set off your airbag and give your kid a severe head injury. So not much more needs to be said about that. These last 3 are much more to do with my own parenting journey and my own desire to improve and be the better version of myself, and then maybe be the better parent for my kids. So these have been hard fought points from my own personal growth and experience through my own parenting journey that I want to share with you. So number 8 on this list is I really will not give my kids a lecture or criticism on a behavior or a point that I am not either prepared to start modeling myself or I'm not currently modeling myself. One of the most powerful lessons in parenting that it took me a very long time to learn is kids really respond way more to what you are doing in front of them every day instead of what you are telling them to do. There is no better way to impart a value or a priority in your children's minds than living it in front of them. So no, my children will not get a lecture on something that I'm not modeling. Number 9, I have changed and evolved as a parent over my almost 30 years of being a parent. And I know that I was not always the best version of myself and the best version of the parent that my kids needed. I think my older kids suffered from this more than my younger kids because obviously I've changed. So I'm very open in telling my audience and discussing this, how I apologize to my children all the time. I apologize for not being the version of a parent that they needed at the time, not being the version of myself that I needed to be the best version of a parent. And what this models for them and what I see expressed is that normalizing mistakes is a part of the growth process, and that doesn't matter whether you are the grown-up or the child or the position of authority or not, that mistakes are part of growing and part of becoming the best version of yourself, and normalizing that has been very valuable. So modeling that message for my kids about normalizing mistakes and owning them as part of your growth. And the last one on this list related to parenting and mental health is that I have made it a very strong point that not to model or show or discuss with my kids that mental health is about feeling good every day. That is an unrealistic expectation, and that is not a part of life, waking up and feeling good every day. But what mental health is that your feelings make sense to you and have a context that you can appreciate and that you understand. What that makes your feelings something that are not foreign and that are not simply managing your life, but have an understandable basis that you can then address and deal with healthy coping. That is, I think, the most important message about mental health that we as parents can model and discuss with our kids, that I think is getting lost. I think with the onset of the adolescent mental health crisis in this country that is now going on probably 10 years, literally everywhere in this country, and the reasons for it are large. I'm sure that many of you have been hearing or reading or hearing about the correlation of smartphones and all of that. And I think that that's absolutely true, but I think it's bigger than just the phone. I think it's how technology and the phone has colored the culture in which the adolescent mind now is exposed to, which is way different and way more toxic because of the overload wrought by our relationship with technology compared to 20 and 30 years ago. So obviously mental health topics are much more in front of us. We're much more open in a good way about talking about them, about acknowledging them, about acknowledging the need for help when you need it, and seeking help and recognizing when mental health becomes a problem. But with that has been, I think, a more damaging idea that if you're not feeling great every day, then something's wrong with you. And that is not expected or realistic. Mental health is not about feeling good every day. Mental health is that your feelings make sense and that you have healthy ways to manage them, period. That's how we should be talking about mental health with our kids. So a lot of people felt like they got a lot out of this. I got a lot out of making these lists and talking about them again, because it's always good to remind myself of what I want to focus on and what I want to help other parents focus on. And as always, you can find Your Kids Will Be Fine podcast on Apple, Spotify, and any platform where you get your podcasts. Check us out also on yourkidswillbefine.com, where you can download all the episodes, can leave comments, and show suggestions, topics that you want to hear us talk about. And we are looking forward to catching you next time.